Welcome to the video on Tac Attendance. Access Tac from the staff page under Educational Tools, eSchool Plus Tac, and log in with your district credentials. Your view of Tac will look something like this, your classes and some icons. So let's recall what some of these are for. You can see some drop downs I have across the top. There's an attendance one. We're going to look at that today. There's grading. We also have a drop down to change view here. You see all 4 quarters for a school year. You can see whichever one you want. So if I've changed the view, I can, depending on what quarter those classes are offered, I may see different classes. If I pick a different quarter, see some different classes, especially at the high school level when classes often change at the semester. I like the view of current report card run because I don't have to remember if it's third quarter or fourth quarter. I just say current and it puts me to what's active right now. I go back in the past and I can see that for these classes, IPRs and report cards were submitted, the little check marks you see there. Or I could come in to say my classes or all classes. Now my classes are anything where I can assign a literal report card grade. So I might have a kid in a report card screen that I could give a grade to. And all classes are every class I'm assigned to, whether there's a student in it or not. That's what those are for. Most popular one is probably current report card run, but this one here, today's attendance, is a good one. A lot of teachers like this. It only will show the classes that actually meet today. Now, the downside to that is if you're going to put grades in, it's not the best view for putting in grades for a class that doesn't meet today. But if attendance-wise, that could be a great view for you. Also recall that the marking or the time slots to the left here aren't necessarily the same as periods in your building. They could be, but in many schools, if we have homeroom in time slot 1, for example, your first period class would still show a 2 there. Right? We have the course names. If we click on a course name, we're going to get a class roster of our students, and we can see their student ID here. We could see their homeroom, their gender, and their birthday. So that's a lot of good information. We can also run a report from this screen, from the class roster. If we were going to do something, let's say like a field trip or an activity outside of the classroom, away from your computer, you could come in and do something called add empty columns. So if you wanted to take notes or take attendance away from your computer, you could come in and add a number of empty columns to a roster and actually run this as a report. So you can see that's what the view is going to look like there with 2 extra columns to the right. Now, if I go ahead and next to the gear, that's where I could add more columns at the gear. But if I wanted this as a report, I click the icon next to that, and it's going to run a report for me, a nice looking PDF here. You can see I have the added columns I added in. So if I was doing that, using that like an old school rule book for attendance or marks or whatever I'm doing, and I could go ahead and print that. Also, even if I don't print it, if I come back to it later, I can see that since I ran it as a report, you can see it's under my reports at the bottom of the Tac screen. I can go back to that and run that anytime I need it and print it again. Over on the right-hand side, we have the 3 icons. The black book is for grading, to put assignments in. The green one is for IPRs, and the red A icon is report card icons. We'll affect those when we talk about the mark reporting in Tac here. But to take attendance, there's a couple ways you can access attendance. A primary way here is with the attendance tab across the top. I click attendance list, and it opens up the first class where I could take attendance for that day. You can see there's the date. It calls out the date in the class. And if it's not the right class, I could change it. I could use the change oval there to change either the course or the date. Teachers typically have 3 school days to affect attendance. After that, you have to submit a change to the office. And I can see all my classes. I could go in and click and say OK to whichever one I wanted to take attendance for. So I'm taking attendance live here. PPS is what's called a negative attendance district. That means we don't track present code, right? That's not really a code. But visually in gradebook, we have it there because we think it's easier for a teacher to use. You can mark every kid present, so visually you see all the blue check marks. than just affect the kids who are not present. And when you check the A for absent, you see our default code is a U. It stands for unexcused. So you're not expected to know where a kid is at first blush. You're just marking the kid present or absent. Now, when we save that, the P codes, the present codes don't go anywhere. That's just for you visually. But if U was incorrect, I mark a kid absent. Now I can use the drop down and pick maybe a more accurate code like bus tardy, or if excused, if a note comes in, I can mark a kid excused. It becomes an E or whatever code I want to use. You can see, well, as soon as I click back to an A, if I save that, now if I click it to an A again, it'll again revert back to the U for unexcused. So I mark the student unexcused, but I know I have a note or something. I can uncheck the blue check mark and then pick from the list the more accurate code. And I'm going to come over and save that. And once that's saved, again, those P's were just for me. Yeah, so visually I didn't skip anybody, in other words, but I'm really only sending 3 codes to the student information system. One way I could check up with it is this feature called Attendance Detail, which is really, really nice. This is a year view of all my attendance. You can see, I'm going to scroll to the right real quick and show you the codes I just put in are way over here under that date. So you can see my 3 codes I put in just now. But going back to the left, when I have to do something like maybe for an IEP or for a conference with a colleague or a social worker, I can see excused, unexcused, and tardy for the marking period under MP or year to date. So this tracks, and visually you can see the exact dates the students were marked absent. Really powerful tool, Attendance Detail. Come back to the home view. I'm going to open up a class now and talk about something called the student drawer in Tac. So that's when we're going to open up our roster and look at a student. Again, this is where I'm going to put a grades in. If I was going to put in an assignment for the day, I would use the little black book icon to go ahead and put in an assignment. And those are, again, that's the IPR icon and the report card icon. I'm going to click on the exclamation point is for discipline. That's in a separate video. Go ahead and click on the gradebook icon. You can see I have some assignments in there. And there's my students to the left here. I'm going to go ahead and click on a student name. And this opens up what's called the student drawer. So from the student drawer, I can see a picture. Not typically I see a picture if the student made it to picture day. And I can see contact information here. I can see a guardian information here. I can see the student ID, of course, and date of birth, so I can confirm who it is. I can not see a phone number or two. Now, we put attendance in, but look, you can see attendance for the whole year from every class for this kid. It's very colorful. More color is more grades, but there's the one I just put in for this kid. But you can see those are attendance marks from other teachers. So you have that access to see the entire year attendance for the student in all of her classes. And you can see current schedule. So if you're having an issue with a student or you want to talk about the student with your colleagues, you can see this student's schedule, her teachers, everything you would need to know as an instructor about the kid. Come in and see classwork. This is a great one too, classwork, not just for your class. You can see classwork from everyone on this student's schedule. So I could come down here and see her elementary functions classwork and how she's doing in those classes. So again, maybe you're her advisor, maybe you're working with her counselor, whatever happens to be, you have a lot of access in what's called the student drawer in TAC. Hope you found that to be helpful. Have a great day.